Hello, Algebra 1 students. We're ready to start Chapter 11. We only have 3 weeks left, and so I'm going to give you a couple of assignments this week and a couple of assignments next week, and then we're going to kind of do some review and have some kind of a test that I guys want you just to try on. Might be Galileo, might be something else, we'll see. But these next 4 lessons are going to be on graphs, data displays, right? Like bar graphs, right? You guys know about bar graphs. You talk about circle graphs. We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about line graphs, which kind of like have to do with bar graphs. But remember, bar graphs we're going to use for comparing categories, where line graphs we're going to use it to compare things over time. Okay, so let me give it to you this way here. This is time, and this is categories. Okay, circle graph is maybe when we want to use a percent or something like that. Okay, the next one, it would be like a histogram. A histogram looks just like a bar graph, but a histogram has to do with what we call intervals. Like you might use a histogram for age groups, right? Or to say how many people own 2 dogs or 3 dogs or whatever, right? So a histogram uses intervals like different from like 7 to 9 and from 10 to 12. So that's what we mean by intervals. Then we have a stem and leaf. Okay. And I'm very proud of those of you who are actually taking notes. I know some of you are, and that's going to help you out in the long run. We got box and whisker, which we're going to talk about later on this week. We're going to talk about all of these at some point, but I'm just kind of giving you a rundown of all of them. And then we've already talked about scatter plots, right, where we graph points and they kind of make a straight line type of thing. But those are all different types of graphs that we're going to talk about in these next 4 lessons. But today, one of the things I want to talk about is, and hopefully this is a little bit of a review, and that is mean, median, and mode. Okay, so let's talk about first how do we find the mean. Okay, the mean is what we typically call the average. Okay, we use this symbol to represent the mean, an X with a bar over the top of it. It's actually called X bar. Okay, and the way we do this is we add up all the terms and then we divide by the amount of terms, right? So you guys have done this. On big ideas, make sure you use your calculator to figure this out. Okay. All right. So that's how we find the mean. We add up every single number in the data, and then we divide. If there's 8 numbers, we divide by 8. If there was 13 numbers, we divide by 13, so on and so forth. Okay. And then let's talk about median. Okay. Median is the number in the middle. Okay. Now the key to this is you got to make sure that they are in order. Okay. And then we find the number in the middle. Now sometimes the number in the middle is not one of the data points. Okay. There might be 4 and 4, 4 on one side, 4 on the other. And so you have to find the mean or the average of the 2 numbers that are in the middle. And we'll do that example here in a little bit. And then the last one, actually there's 2 more, is the mode. And the mode sounds like the most because it's the one that happens the most often. And there might be more than one mode sometimes, but if there's more than 2, there's just no mode. Okay, but there could be 2 modes. And the last thing that we need to talk about in this little section is the range. The range is just how far it is from the smallest to the largest. Okay, smallest to largest. right? How far apart are they? All right, that's the range. Okay, that's different than the range that we were talking about when we were talking about graphing. Okay, this is a little different. So let's take a look at an example. Okay, and so let's say that these are some sample hourly wages. Okay, so there's one, 1650. That's a nice one. 875, 865, 910, 825. Sorry, that's a 2. 845. Sorry, let me redo that and that. So 825, 845. There we go. We got another 825 and a 925. Okay. So first of all, the mean. Okay. The mean, we're going to add every number up and we're going to divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So when you add all these up, you get, I don't know what you get. You get a big number. 73, 74, something or other. Okay, I'll add them up real quick and then we can. Okay, so we get 77.2. Okay, and we're going to divide that by 8. Okay, and so that's going to give us a mean of $9.65. Okay, now I want to point out one thing. There's this number here, 1650. It is a lot bigger than most of those other numbers, right? This is what we call an outlier. And when you're talking about the mean, outliers are not very good because they make the numbers kind of skewed. So if you look at the answer we got, $9.65, it is bigger than every single one of these except for the 1650. So this is not a very good measure of the average because it's not a really good representation about what most of the hourly wages are. Okay. All right, let's talk about the median. Okay. Now remember that the median, we have to put them in order from smallest to largest. Okay. So let's do that. We got 825 and 825. We got 2 of those. Sorry, that's a bad 2 there. Let me try that again. 825. Okay. 845 and 865. I'm going to have to go down a line and get 8.75, 910, 925, and then the 1650. Okay? So if you look, this splits up the numbers very well into 4 and 4. Okay? And so the middle would actually be somewhere in here, right? In between 8.65 and 8.75. Okay, so we got to find the midway point of that. And the way we do that is we'd add those up and we divide by 2. And we get a median of $8.70. Okay, that's a pretty good average. Okay, I think that's a pretty good average. Okay, so there's the mean, there's the median. Now we got to do the mode. The mode is the one that happens the most often. Now, there's only one number that was repeated here, right? And so that's the $8.25. Oh my goodness. Scratch that. Let's try that again. There we go. So there's the mode, the median, and the mean. The range. The range would be from our smallest number. Let me get you a different color, a little pink here, right? The smallest number to the largest number, right? We would subtract those. And so the range, I'm going to put it down here in the corner. Hopefully you can see it, is 825. Okay. So there's our mean, our median, and our mode. Okay? All right. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is what we call standard deviation. Okay? And I think this is about where we will end after this. Okay? But standard deviation is a little formula. Okay? And the way we're going to do this is kind of try to go step by step. Okay? And so let's look at the steps, okay, for standard deviation. This is a tool that is used a lot when comparing data. Okay, a low standard deviation means that the numbers are pretty close together, and a high standard deviation means that the mean is not very good. That means there's a lot of outliers, like there's a big spread of numbers. Okay, so step one is going to be find the mean. Okay, step two is going to be find the deviation of each number. So we're going to take each value, which is x, and we're going to subtract the mean. Okay, so we're going to take each value and subtract the mean. That's step two. Step three is we're going to square each of those numbers. Okay, we're going to square each of those numbers from step two. Okay, now we're going to take each of those answers, okay, and we're going to find the mean again. All right, find the mean of the squares. Okay, this is a technical term called the variance, if that comes up. Okay, and then step five is we're going to take the square root of that answer. Okay, so let's see if we can just do a nice simple example that maybe won't take quite so long. Okay, so let's just say that we had some data that looked like 20, 29, 25, 19, oops, sorry, 19, and 22. Okay, those are our numbers. So the first thing we'd have to do is find the mean. Okay, so we're going to take 20 plus 29 plus 25 plus 19 plus 22, and that's going to equal 115. Okay, and we're going to divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and that's going to give us our mean. Our mean is 23. Okay, all right, so that's step one. Now, step two is I got to take that 23 and I kind of subtract it from each of the numbers in my list, right? I gotta subtract it from each of those. Okay, so for step two, I'll use a different color that you can hopefully see a little bit better. For step two, I'm gonna do 20 minus 23. I'm gonna do 29 minus 23, 25 minus 23, 19 minus 23, and 22 minus 23. Okay, now next step is I'm gonna square each of those. Okay, so I'm gonna square negative 3, I'm gonna get 9. Square 6, I'm going to get 36. Square 2, I'm going to get 4. Square negative 4, I'm going to get 16. And square negative 1, I'm going to get 1. Okay? Now, step 4 is going to be to find the mean of these numbers right here. Okay? So I got to add all those up. So I'm in my calculator, 9 plus 36 plus 4 plus 16 plus 1 is 66. Okay, and I'm going to divide that by 5, and that's going to give me 13.2. That's the variance. Okay, so I found the mean of those numbers. And our last step is to take the square root of that number. So let me get my square root here. So the square root of 13.2 gives me 3.63. Or we'll just say 3.6. That is the standard deviation. Okay? 3.6. So what that means is that all of these original numbers here are about 3.6 units away from the mean. Not huge, not a big problem. Okay, so make sure you pause this, or you rewind it, and you go back through when you get to the problems in your assignment on how to find the standard deviation. All right, so that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I will be happy to meet with you in tutoring or answer your email over email. All right, talk to you guys later.